Hi, I'm Jeremy, the Zoo Nerd, coming to you live from my backyard in Los Angeles, California. How's everyone doing today? I hope you're well, happy, healthy, and having some fun. Today in Critter Chat, we're going to celebrate Catter Day by talking about another cat species that's really cool and very unique. Today we're going to talk about servals. The video I posted earlier today on Instagram and Facebook is of a serval at the Los Angeles Zoo that I filmed earlier this year before we all went on coronavirus lockdown. I believe that is a female serval because of the noise she is making, because she was looking for some love. She was looking to breed, and that is a noise that cats make when they are searching for a partner. And I believe that is what was happening in that video. Servals are often mistaken for young cheetahs because of their yellowish and spotted coat and the fact that they kind of share or overlap a little bit of the same habitat. Cheetahs typically live out on the grasslands, the savannas of Africa, and often kind of where the grass is a little bit shorter. Servals, on the other hand, live where the grass is high. Typically closer to the water sources, along riverbeds, streams, or even in wetland, kind of swampy areas. And with servals, once you get a good look at them, if you just see a glimpse, you could definitely mistake them for a cheetah because of their color and because of their spots. But if you see them out in the open, you would realize that they are something entirely different. They have extremely long legs for the size of their body. They also have huge ears. They have the largest ears compared to the rest of their head size of any cat species. If we had ears of the same proportion, our ears would be the size of dinner plates. Each ear is about the same size as their entire head. So very, very large ears. And that's very important because of the way they hunt. They use their hearing more than any of their other senses. They also have a fairly small head size compared to the rest of their body size, and that is also well suited for the type of food that they are getting for their prey. They're not trying to take down any like antelope or bigger species at all. They are hunting things much smaller than them. And these proportions of a small head, huge ears, very long legs, make them look a little bit awkward, but they actually give servals a huge hunting advantage over much of the other predators, and especially of any other cats. They are very uniquely adapted to their habitat and to their primary prey, which is rodents. These cats are masters at catching rodents. And if there's not rodents available, they can switch it up pretty easily to a lot of different things, with like rabbits being their second choice, and then things like birds being their third, reptiles, including snakes and lizards, are fourth. And if they're in a very wet area, they're capable of eating fish and frogs. And if all of those aren't available, they'll eat insects. And they are extremely good at hunting all of those things. Servals actually have the highest success rate of any cat species out there, with their success being over 50%, which may not sound that great, but that means if they go hunting twice, they're gonna probably catch something, which may sound a little off for us, but like lions, they only have a 30% success rate, and there's multiple of them hunting. So their success rate is actually pretty low. Other big cats like leopards, tigers, cheetahs, their success rate is even lower at like 20%, or they go hunting 5 times and only get something once. So servals get something more than half the time. They are very successful hunters. Like I said, they use their hearing to help them guide them to their food. So as they're walking around on these very tall legs through very long grass, they are very much listening. They can move their ears independently of each other, and they will hone in on what is happening sound-wise around them, listening for the little squeaks, the little rustling in the grass of any of their favorite foods, mostly rodents. When they hear something, they'll pause for a moment and just listen. And they'll wait. And then with their ears, they can pinpoint exactly where that animal is. And then they will make an incredible jump up into the air, and they come back down and pounce right on where that unsuspecting prey is. So they don't even look at it before they get to it. They are mid-air before they know exactly, before they're able to see their prey. So they are very, very good hunters and the king of pouncing on their prey. Let's see, what else? Oh, so they're size-wise, they are between 17 and 24 inches tall. So they're pretty small, but they're considered a medium-sized cat. That's definitely bigger, taller than a house cat. Those long legs help give them their height advantage. And they're between 23 and 36 inches long, so between 2 and 3 feet in length. And then they can range between 15 and 40 pounds. So they can be pretty big, definitely heavier than your typical house cat. Servals are largely crepuscular. So we've talked about that word before. That is morning and afternoon feeders. So they, although most cats are active at the nighttime, servals typically will get their hunting with early in the morning or late in the afternoon before the big guys wake up and start hunting. They don't want to be hunting at the same time as things like lions and leopards, hyenas, even wild dogs, painted dogs could be a big problem for them because all of those bigger predators would definitely try to kill them. Even in the middle of the day, that's when cheetahs usually hunt. They don't want to be around cheetahs either because they're still only about a third the size of a cheetah. With servals and most other cats, they communicate with each other mostly through scent marking. That means they pee on things. And sometimes that happens with domestic cats as well. And that is a very good way for servals to communicate with an animal that they probably don't see or spend any time with. They can pee on something, that scent stays in that area for a long time and lets the others in that area know that they are there. When they come together, they will make, when a female is ready to breed, she will make noises similar to what I posted in the video up on Facebook and Instagram earlier today. That will help bring a male in closer to her. Also, her scent marking will communicate that as well. After breeding, her gestation or her pregnancy is between 70 and 80 days. So only between like 2.5, just a little longer than 2.5 months. So pretty quick. Sorry, the wind kicked up. And then she will have between 2 and 4 kittens. They are pretty small, only weighing 8 ounces at birth, and they're born, like most cats, kind of helpless and blind. She'll make a little den out of very thick grass. I think my dog's doing that right here next to me right now. So if you hear any rustling in the grass, that's my dog checking out what happened in our yard overnight, sniffing around. But they will typically stay in the den, kind of helpless. They open their eyes kind of after about 2 weeks. They nurse from their mom for about a month before she starts bringing food back. During the daytime, she'll go out in the morning to go hunting. And then midday, she'll actually take a break and take a break from the kids as well and find a cool shady spot to kind of relax and lay down. She'll leave the babies alone all day long. And then come back to them after her afternoon hunts and spend the night with them. About a month old, she'll start bringing food back to the den, and then at about 3 months old, they'll start following her on her hunts. The den's usually a bunch of dense grasses or sometimes an abandoned burrow from another good-sized animal, things like an aardvark, possibly an old hyena burrow. But definitely something where nobody else is using it. Sometimes it could be a hollow log or some dense reeds, kind of like what's behind me here, as they are often seen around riverbeds. Once they start following her on her hunts, if she has sons, Once they are capable of hunting for themselves, right around about age 8 or 9 months, she's like, "Okay, kids, have fun, have a good life, you're out of here." The daughters, she lets them stay around till they're about 2 years old, but the sons she boots out at about 9 months. Kind of interesting that she's so specific about how she tolerates her children, but it definitely could help prevent things like inbreeding. So hey, why not? They're considered mature about 18 months or 2 years old, and they can live into their late teens in a zoo setting, probably early teens in the wild. Servals live throughout most of sub-Saharan Africa, so below the Sahara Desert, with the exception of the rainforest. They don't really like rainforest or dense forest vegetation. They typically like to live kind of on the edge of the forest and the grasslands, and like I said, along riverbanks. So they live throughout a large portion of most of Africa, including some of the North African countries. They are considered very endangered and rare in the north part of their territory. And at the very, very bottom of Africa, in the country of South Africa, they are actually extinct in a big portion of South Africa. And the reason for that is they were hunted to extinction. Not for their coats necessarily, but just for sport. They were killed and wiped out because people thought that it was fun to chase after them and kill them. Just shows how inhumane humanity can be at times. In northern parts of South Africa, they are starting to make a little bit more of a comeback as their habitat kind of rebounds a little bit from that. Throughout most of their range, they are considered least concern, so they are not endangered. They have pretty good territories, or pretty good populations throughout most of their range, and they are able to tolerate living near humans. And actually, some humans, especially if you're growing crops, would probably benefit because of the serval's ability to control rodent populations. It is estimated that an adult serval will kill and eat about 4,000 rodents in a year. So they definitely would help control any huge populations of things like mice or rats or ground squirrels, or things that may be eating a lot of crops or other things that people might be trying to grow. So they definitely have some advantage to having around. That being said, human conflict is sometimes an issue with them. If people are raising farm animals, things like chickens in particular, and something kills a bunch of their chickens, people will often take it out on any predator they see, including a serval, although there is little documented cases of a serval actually attacking any livestock. They do occasionally go for birds, but typically not chickens or any other kind of farm animals. Their other big threat is habitat loss as people expand agricultural growing and cities and towns in Africa expand. They need more land to raise more crops to feed more people. And typically as they expand into new land to do that, one of the first things they do is burn the grassland off to help prepare the land to make it able to grow crops. And as they do that, that usually eliminates a lot of the rodent population and at least the habitat for the servals and much of their food source, pushing them to other areas. So that is kind of their biggest concern happening across most of their range. In parts of West Africa, they are still hunted for their skins. Their skins are sold somewhat for the fur trade, although the fur trade is definitely diminishing on a global scale. It's not nearly what it once was. Servals, because they are more plentiful, their skins are sometimes traded as a substitute for cheetahs or leopards because they have a similar marking with the yellow coat and the black spots. However, servals are much smaller, so if you're making a coat for a human to wear, you're going to need to kill several servals to make that coat. So that is a threat to them, particularly in northern and western Africa, where they are already in lower range numbers. I want to talk today about kind of an odd and interesting tie-in with servals, and that is a cat that has made its more prominence in human society, and that is called a Savannah cat. A Savannah cat is considered a new domestic breed that started kind of in the 1990s, and it's where somebody takes a serval and breeds it with a domestic cat. The result is something they call a Savannah cat. Savannah cats became pretty popular. For a while, they were kind of the new cat to have, along with similar things called Bengal cats, or also jungle cats. Those are crossbreeds between domestic cats and an Asian wild cat species. Servals are specifically used to create what is called a Savannah cat. I'll be posting a video about Savannah cats later today on the Facebook page. But I would just like to say that Savannah cats can be a very poor choice as a pet, as can those others. I had a friend who had 2 Bengal cats. Again, that is a crossbreed between an Asian wild cat and a domestic cat. And when that happens, you get this very beautiful cat that wants to be a wild animal. It has a lot more instincts of its wild parent than a domestic cat typically has. They can be very destructive in a household setting. They can be very, very territorial. Even if you get them spayed or neutered, they will still try to communicate through that sense of smell by peeing on everything. And that was the case with my friend who had 2 Bengal cats. They were both neutered and spayed, and they would pee all over the walls of her apartment, and her apartment just smelled of cat pee all the time. Wasn't very pleasant. Her cats were also very non-social. They hated when anybody else came to the house. They would run and hide under the bed. If you stood near a bed and they didn't know you, they would run out and attack you and grab your feet. They were pretty aggressive in that way. A Savannah cat's also pretty big, much bigger than a typical house cat, and can be pretty aggressive and destructive and can cause some pretty serious damage to physical things, but also some physical damage to people. With that, I would just like to encourage you, if you are a pet owner and if you're considering a pet, do your research, do your homework, figure out what the needs are of this animal and can you adequately supply these needs. With many of these new fancy cat hybrids, they require a lot more time outdoors, but outdoors they can cause a lot of problems because they have a lot of wild hunting instinct. They may constantly be killing things that they find in and around your yard. Things like birds, small animals, squirrels, and you may not want to be cleaning up that mess, but that's also a negative impact on your local environment. So please consider those kind of things very carefully. Hybrid cats can also be very aggressive to other cats. So if you have other pets and you get a Savannah cat or a Bengal cat, they can sometimes be extremely aggressive to your existing cat, to where you may have to now separate your house into 2 different cat zones with 2 different types of cats living not in the same territory. So please, if you're gonna be a pet owner, be a responsible pet owner and do your research, figure out what the needs are, see if you can meet those needs, and also talk to people who already have that type of animal. What are their challenges? What are their frustrations? What are the things they enjoy about having a pet like that? And see if that pet is right for you. My experience with servals is somewhat limited. During my time as a zookeeper at the Los Angeles Zoo, particularly my time training to be a zookeeper, I did work with servals on a very limited basis on occasion. Despite the fact that they are kind of a medium to smaller size cat, we did not go in with them unless it was a critical emergency. And as a volunteer learning to be a zookeeper, I absolutely never went in with them. Even if it was an emergency, that would be reserved for the zookeepers and possibly the veterinarians. Because they can cause some harm and some damage. And that's also why if you breed them with a domestic cat, you're gonna have some issues with some aggression towards people. But my time at the LA Zoo with serval cats, I definitely gained an appreciation for what they were capable of. I've seen serval cats used in zoos in training demonstrations where they showcase their unique hunting ability to be able to jump and pounce, and it's really a cool thing to be able to see. I'll see if I can find a great video and post that later today on Facebook. that is what I have for you today about servals. So I hope you've enjoyed it. As always, be happy, be healthy, be safe, have some fun, and I'll be back with another Critter Chat on Monday. Have a great day. Enjoy your Catterday, and I'll see you later. Bye.